What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Trying something a little bit different this time. I have added a free stuff page on my website, which is www.dansmithguitarist.co.uk. If you go there, there'll be a page called Free Stuff, and there's a few links on there from something I released recently. I'm planning on trying to find all the tabs for the Beyond the Lick videos and put them on there. Although I've done those over a long period of time, so tracking them down is proving a little bit tricky. But I should still have them all somewhere or in Dropbox somewhere, so that'll go in there. But specifically today, I put a backing track on there, a little loop that I did a little video on, and I thought it'd be cool to put the backing track on there, the little loop. It's about 5 minutes, sort of just 4 chords, but give you a bit of guidance of how to play over it. If I was going to reel off the chords, as I would name them, you'd have G minor, G minor 6, you've got an E flat 7 sharp 11 or E flat 9 sharp 11, you have an F major 7, and then a D7 flat 9. Now, if you get something like that put in front of you, it's like, this is what we're playing over. If you are new to this kind of like changes playing type thing, you might be like, whoa, what do I do over that? Well, there's a few things that can sort of give the game away and tell you what you're going to play, really. The first thing is, the more colourful a chord is, kind of the more specific your choice will be. So the more extensions a chord has, it kind of points you into one direction, because then, strictly speaking, the more notes of a scale, I'm not necessarily thinking scales, but we'll get to that in a second, but the more notes, the note pool gets taken up more, the more extensions that are in a chord. I took all the extensions off, and it was just G minor, E flat 7, F, and then D7. That's cool, but it doesn't really tell you that much, which means technically you'd have more options, but there's less information there. Let's take a look at the voicings that I used on the track, and then that'll give us a bit more of a point in the direction that we're looking at. So I believe the first one I did was this for the G minor. Quite a nice G minor shape. All I've done there is I've imagined this G minor triad, or this little G minor chord. I've taken the root up to the 9th, so you get a nice crunch between the 9th and the flat 3. Instead of playing the 5th on this string, I've taken that up to the flat 7, so. And then I've got the root on the top, so you get this, bit stretchy. Really nice chord voicing. Just that on its own would give you basically a G minor 9, because we've got the root, we've got the flat 3, making it G minor. We've got the flat 7 here, making it a G minor 7, but then we've also got the 9th. So you're looking at a G minor 9, really. However, listening to what else is going on, there's another part of the track where there's a guitar going, that kind of thing, which has this moving part, which is going from the flat 7 down to this major 6, which is a pretty big deal, and then back to the minor 7. So if you put all those together, you get the roots, flat 3, we've got no 5th, but it doesn't really matter much for now. You've got the flat 7, you've got the 9th, and you've also got this 6. So if you played a chord that had most of those in it, and maybe add here, you're getting that kind of G minor 6, or you're getting that Dorian sound. So the choice would be, one of the main choices is Dorian. You could get away with G melodic minor as well, because there's only one note difference, if you really wanted to kind of hammer that major 7. So the first chord, you would use this scale, which is the G Dorian scale. Now, I don't really think in scales. I do the intervals thing, which, like me, Tom Quayle, David Beebe, I think Jake might do it a little bit in certain situations. I think Jack does it as well, Jack Gardner. But that's a whole thing that is, we've talked about it loads on the podcast. Yes, I have a podcast. I realise, I couldn't be more hipster with a podcast, looking like a sort of wish Joey Landreth today. But yeah, check it out, the Guitar Hour podcast. I'll put a link in the description. We've talked about the intervals thing quite a lot on there, and that is basically when a chord is happening, you're accessing each available note with an intervallic function. So you're not necessarily thinking scale. Like if I see that G minor or G minor 6, I'm thinking roots, second, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So I'm thinking in those terms. So I'm not thinking about big scale shapes. I'm thinking about grabbing these sounds. So I'll think, if I just think minor, sounds a bit more sort of pentatonic-y. If I think minor 9, I'll do the same kind of stuff, but I'll add the 9th in. If I'm thinking minor 6, so adding that 6th in there, making it Dorian, I guess. Like that. Doing it that way and sort of building it up and adding extensions, you're probably going to get to the sound and have your improvisations and your lines sound a bit more sort of melodic and musical than you are if you just go, boom, there's a scale, big chunk. We are using the Dorian scale, but I'm not thinking in scales, if that makes sense. So a little tip is whatever the chord type is, try and think, well, if it was G minor, could I outline the sound of a G minor? You don't necessarily just have to use those notes, but can you describe a minor chord without any other stuff going on and just sort of hit those notes and go, yeah, if the chord wasn't below you, underneath you, can you describe a G minor sound? Like that. And then maybe try adding the 9th. Like that. And then try and just add the 6th. So you're just adding in these color tones rather than coming at it as a full scale. So that's the first chord. The G minor 7 / G minor 6 if you put it all together. Like that. So you're gonna go Dorian. It makes me uncomfortable saying this is the scale you use. Yes, it is, but at the same time, it's the thought process that goes into it. So everyone's kind of using the same note pool, but it's how do you get there? I think that's the important thing. So the next chord is an E flat 7 sharp 11. Now, I think the voicing I played was this. So here, basically to try and keep the same sort of layout as this initial shape, go to here. So I've actually got the sharp 11 on the bottom here. So there's your root, there's your sharp 11. So we've got the sharp 11, and then I've got the flat 7. Then I've got the root, and then on the top I've got the 5th. So you get this. So that chord in itself kind of tells you everything you need to know. Because you've got the sharp 11, you've got the flat 7, you've got the root not there for context, and then you've got the 5th. So if you see a 7 sharp 11, you might have seen it in something like Take the A Train. You can see it a lot of time as like a sort of dominant 2. Dun, dun. Take the A Train is quite a good one because the melody note does land on the sharp 11. It lands right on there. Then your go-to scale, would be a Lydian dominant scale, which sounds like, you know, super fancy. But again, if we build it up, if we take this, can you outline just an E flat 7 chord? Like that. And then if we add the extensions, if I did play it like this, it's got the 9th in it. you're kind of thinking E flat 7 and then adding the 9th in, then adding the sharp 11. So that would be a tritone away from the root, and adding that in. Something like that. So I've kind of arrived at the scale without going at it as, if I think scales, and you might find this the same way, if you actually think in scales, you're probably more likely to end up going you know what I mean? You're probably more likely to sound like you're thinking scales. I know that sounds really obvious. So the Lydian dominant scale, think of it like a mixed Lydian scale. So that'd be root, 2nd or 9th, 3rd. Mixed Lydian would have a natural 4th, 5, 6, flat 7, and then you're back to the root. So all you need to do to make it Lydian dominant is just change that, take that 4th, raise up a semitone. So the mentality is you're only moving one note. You've not sat there and gone, right, I'm going to learn this one scale in 5 different positions. If you go, right, I'm thinking E flat 7, I'm going to try and outline that, and then I'm going to add this extension into it, and then I'm going to add this, and then add the sharp 11. You will arrive at the scale eventually, but what you've done is you're thinking, it's that sound, it's that dominant 7 sound, but then the colours on top, the sprinkles, is the sharp 11 really, to get that sound. So that's first 2 chords. You got the G minor 6 with G Dorian, minor with a major 6 on top. Then you've got the E flat 7 sharp 11, which would be Lydian dominant, or dominant 7 mixed Lydian with a sharp 11. So just a thing about adding that one note. The next chord is just an F major 7. I think I did this on the track, which is a really nice chord for a major 7. So I've got the 3rd, the major 7, the root, and then the 5th. So that on its own, you could go major. If you wanted to, you could go Lydian. A lot of people like to throw Lydian in over a sort of perceived one chord, if you like. But do that, or on that, it's just a major chord, the 3rd chord. It's up to you if you want to do a Lydian thing or major, either or. They both work. Sometimes I'll sort of put them both in, or I'll treat the 4th like a kind of enclosure or like a little passing note. Like that. So I could go. So there I put in the sharp 11 here and I sat on it to outline it, and then technically put the natural 4 in, although I'm just thinking of it as an enclosure of the 3rd. Like that. So that'll be Dorian, and then Lydian dominant, and then the major or Lydian. And then the last chord is a D7 flat 9. I believe I played this. So I've got the flat 7, flat 9, 3rd, and then roots. Really nice little chord shape that. You quite often hear like this sort of thing. Like, oh, that kind of sound. A couple of options here. D7 flat 9, you could go diminished scale, go half whole diminished. I think for most of the time on the track I went altered. So and that kind of sound. Both valid choices, because the whole track starts on a G minor, and then the D7 flat 9 is acting like a 5 chord back to the G minor. You can kind of do what you want. You've got more liberties because it's going home. It's resolving to a place of kind of home or perceived home, because it starts there, it goes round, and then it sort of finishes and lands on that G minor. And that's the feeling of, this is our home base. You can put as much tension in as you want, really, to get there. So, over the D7 flat 9, either half whole diminished or the altered scale. Some little tips on the changes playing thing. So if you do get this backing track, you can kind of play around with these ideas and have a go. Is things like limitation exercises, or small kind of small resolutions and small chunks to get from one chord to the next. And one way to just visualize that and to just kind of do it straight out of the box is try and play your chord shapes in one place. So the temptation, depending on how you think about chords, would be, oh, maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll go here. That's like all that space there. Now, obviously, when you're soloing, you want to get around and do what you want, yeah. But if you're trying to practice these resolutions and to find these notes and to get through this in a nice kind of musical, small, connected way, try and find everything in the same place. So say you did your G minor here, and then when you went to E flat, maybe here, it's all in one place. So kind of within 4 frets. The F major 7 can maybe go there. If you want to maybe put the 3rd in the bass. So we've got still all happening here, and then the D7 flat 9. Or so that'll be here. What I help you to do is to visualize the resolutions. So what I mean by that is, say we took that last D7 flat 9 going to the G minor. I can see the notes here if I go through each one. The flat 9 going to the 5 of the G. I can see that small movement, so that means if I was soloing, something like that. I can see that little movement from there to there. Nice. The tidiest kind of resolution you can get is a semitone. So, I'll take the next note down. I've got the flat 7 of the D. Either it can go. It can go down from the flat 7 to the flat 3 of the G, or it could go off. So you can perceive it going that way or that way. So if I know that, again, if I'm soloing, I'll just try and stick to sort of chord tones sort of stuff. And go like that. Or goes back up. Like that. Take the 3rd. That wants to go. So. So D flat, D7 flat 9. Wants to go to the root of the G. And then the D, the root note, can just stay there. So if you happen to be soloing on the note of a D, that'll be the root of the D7, and it's also the 5th of the G. So you could just stay on that note across the bar line. Doing that across each chord. So if I'm on the G minor, if I'm on the root, when it goes to the E flat, that note becomes the 3rd of the E flat 7. So just kind of going through and assessing what your options are from one thing to the next, and then you can kind of build on that. So you're taking really small ideas and sort of building out from there. So one thing what I would do is go through each chord type and play around with, can you get the sound of just a chord? and then if I was new to this, what I would do is I would take each chord as a pair. So I'll go G minor to E flat 7, sharp 11, and just go back and forward between the two. So you're getting used to that resolution. And you can even aim your resolution. So pick a note that you're going to use to get from one to the next. So if you take, say, the flat 7 of our E flat 7 and go, that's going to be my resolution point. So G minor. And now I've hit that note, which is going to be the E flat. I'll do it again. Like that. And do that for each one. So do that for your E flat 7, going to the F major 7. Do that for the F major 7, going to the D flat 7, the D7 flat 9, and do that for the 7 flat 9, going to the G minor. Take small little kind of missions, if you like, little side quests, and then consider the whole progression being like the sort of the main quest. So have a go. The backing track is in there. Just a little experiment. I hope that all makes sense, and there's some stuff in there that makes you go, oh yeah, cool, I'll try that. Backing track's there. Just click on the link in the description and then go to free stuff. I think it's a little bit further down. I'll probably link this video on there so it makes a bit more sense on the website as well. Play around with it, and if you do have a go, tag me. If it's on the socials, tag me at StanGuitarSmith on Instagram or TikTok. TikTok. I don't really, whatever, it's TikTok. Have fun, and let me know how it goes. See you later.